No, I'm not muted.
Oh, helps if I wear my glasses, I
Let me make sure
suppose.
Joyce is.
No, Joyce is still muted. I'll try again. It looks like we are all here. And I took a quick roll. Gloria, myself, Carrie, Joyce Riley is here. Dan Conrad is here. Anitris,
I didn't
Kathy
see that.
Harling, the school board, Linda Weller, and Debbie DeBacco. All right. We could all stand for wherever you are and do the pledge to the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America. No one stands. That's for all.
I tried to say it quietly so I didn't dominate. Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Right. Thank you. Okay. That was Betty Sue. The gentleman from Gerstner Train is on his way home. He'll join the Zoom meeting so that we can get some information as to what the maintenance plan entails, what it covers for the library. So when he's going to join the Zoom meeting, and at that point we can talk with him about exactly what Gerstner Train is providing for us. I do want to introduce Carrie Deegan, who is the mayor's new appointee. Carrie was on the board a few years ago. She has a similar situation as Dan, as she resigned after she had neck surgery. She also served as our secretary for several years. If we could, everybody review the agenda. Are there any additions which people would like to have? I did send out a newer one. A couple of people contacted me about things to add into the agenda. Any additions? Could I have a motion to approve our agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve.
A second, please. We have a second. That was Dan. Yep. Oh, Gloria made the motion, yes. I'm sorry, I need to announce that. All in favor? Approving the agenda, say it. Raise your hand.
Aye.
Yes.
All opposed? Continue on. Public forum, we do have some visitors on Zoom. If anybody would like to speak, now would be the time to do that. If not, we will move on. Did everyone receive a copy of the minutes?
Yes.
Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes?
The only correction that I see, and I did send a correction out, but it was under where it says motion to approve Megan as recording secretary at the stated rate of pay $50, and it was $50 per meeting. The per meeting was left out.
Okay. Any other changes? I'll accept a motion to approve the minutes as corrected. I cannot participate as I was not present at the meeting. But I will accept the motion to approve the minutes with the correction.
I move that we approve the minutes with the corrections.
Okay, Joyce, do I have a second?
I'll second, Debbie.
Anitris?
Or Anitra.
All right. All in favor? Raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
And I can't, so. Opposed? Carried. September Treasurer's Financial Report. I believe everybody received those from Barb.
Yes.
Any questions on those or corrections? Hearing none, I'll accept the motion to accept the financial reports for September.
Excuse me, Terry, you said,
Yes.
you said for September.
I'm sorry. The, would have been August, correct?
August.
I know it. You're trying, Dan says we're trying to get out of 2020 as fast as we can here. I'll accept the motion for accepting the August Treasurer's Financial Report.
I move that we accept the August treasurer's financial report.
Okay, I have a motion by Joyce. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Demetrius? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? And that is carried. The Director's Report, you received that in the mail, or in an email. Some of the items we're going to discuss under new business. Some of the items that Betty Sue had raised we need to talk about. Are there other questions about the Director's Report? Or anything that, Betty Sue, anything you want to add to it?
You're on mute, Betty Sue.
We can't hear you. Yeah.
Doing.
There we go.
I was still on mute. Is that we've had questions about when the volunteers will be allowed back in to help and with the friends, but I figure that will come up under new business.
Okay. All right. Anything else you wanted to add?
No, I think it's all under committees.
Okay. Any questions by anybody? Okay, the executive committee did not meet. Personnel committee, they have 2 meetings coming up. Is that correct, Gloria?
Yes, we have 2 meetings coming up. One is going to be in September 23rd, and that's to discuss the sick leave policy that's supposed to be in effect the beginning of the year, and also October 7th, so we can do a new agreement with our director.
If you didn't know, both the federal government and New York State have new requirements for PTO or sick leave policy, and the committee will be addressing that. We received information from our attorney, plus I found some backup information to kind of explain what they were. So the personnel committee will be taking those up at the September meeting. Any questions for the personnel committee? Finance committee had a meeting. Joyce, you want to take over?
Okay, great. The Finance Committee met on September 3rd at 10:30 at the Hoag Library. Present were Terry Wilbert, Gloria Norton, Betty Sue Miller, Barb Kyler, and myself. We actually went through several issues, and we have several motions. And what I would like to do is, if there is conversational information ahead of the motion, I'll give that to you, present the motion, and ask that the board either accept or reject the motion. All of the motions have been accepted by the committee. We'll start with the bookworm vending machine. As everyone know, we had a gift from Xerox in the sum of $7,000 for us to use for a vending machine. And we actually have a sole source for that vending machine, which I want to make note for the record that if there were others, we would have included them on the bid, but there was only one company that made it. So the motion to use these funds goes as follows. The Finance Committee recommends purchasing the custom wrap vending machine plus freight and any remaining funds to be used for books up to the grant amount of $7,000.
Okay, that comes from a committee, so it does not need a second. Are there
And
any
I-
questions?
Yeah, I don't know if this is where I need to say something because I'm not a member of the board, but you wanted me to look up the amount of the grant. I
What's
thought it
the
was either
exact amount?
7 or 75. It's actually $7,768. We
So,
received the gift on 1/24 of
Pardon?
2020, and it was deposited on 2/11 of 2020. So it is here. And
so we will change the amount from 7,000 to $7,768.
correct.
And I think when we originally discussed it, it was the remainder of the monies after we paid for the machine and the freight anyway, so.
Right.
Any discussion? And as Joyce indicated and Betty Sue told us, this is a sole vendor. There's no one else who sells these, so it wouldn't be subject to any kind of bidding process with this. All in favor of this motion, please say aye. I guess is the best way to do it because we have people who are not doing things visually. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? That is passed. Next.
The next few motions relate to the tax levy. And so I'll start with the first. The Finance Committee recommends if the tax levy is not received as anticipated, the trustees of the Hoag Library direct the Steuben Bank line of credit to be exercised in an amount not more than $50,000 for September. All amounts to be paid in full upon receipt of the tax levy check. So basically, we're saying if we don't get the check before we have to pay our bills, we're going to draw on a line of credit, which we will pay back promptly once we get the school tax levy check.
And this has been standard practice.
Yes.
Well, we had a motion in May to do it, and yes, in past years, I believe we've done it.
I'll
So
make
that,
a motion or I'll have a second, however that works.
well, it comes from a committee. The committee moves it. There's no need for a second. Is there any discussion or any further questions? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Anyone opposed? Okay, motion is carried. Next one, Joyce?
The next one, continuing with the tax levy, the Finance Committee recommends not to raise the tax levy above the 2% cap for 2021. We can raise the tax levy, but not more than 2%, which is approximately $14,260.
Again, that's a motion from a committee. There's no second needed. We have to do this every year or make a decision about that, the tax levy or the cap, tax cap every year. Over the last several years, we have not gone above the 2%. And particularly with COVID-19 and the economy the way it is, plus right now our foreseeable expenditures are not going to be more than that. It would be about $727,000. So the committee felt we'd be very safe to say that we can stay under the 2% cap. Are there any questions or discussion? Hearing none, seeing none. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? That is carried. Next one, Joyce?
Okay, the next motion is that the Finance Committee recommends that Barb transfer the daily receipts accounts to payroll for the month of September only, because this would lower the amount we would have to borrow from our line of credit if that becomes necessary.
Okay, again, does not need a second. It's coming from a committee. Are there any questions or discussion? The daily receipts are things like fines, copier fees, fax fees, those kinds of things that we collect over the course of a month. And they're placed in a separate account down at 5 Star. All right,
So can I ask a question?
certainly.
So just because I don't understand what that's about, so why does it need to be just for the month of September? And why would we have had to borrow from our line of credit? So did I miss that?
Okay,
Oh.
go ahead, Joyce.
Okay. The reason is that we're coming at the end of the year when we should be receiving our monies that we operate with for for the end of the year. And if the money does not hit the account, then we need to get the money from someplace to pay the employees. And so the line of credit allows us to have uninterrupted service that we will be able to repay once we get our funds from the tax levy.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Yeah, thanks.
it's just like when we have our accounts, when we have a bill account, but we may have other money stashed over here so that if we're short because our money didn't hit, we're drawing from that to cover it until our money hits. Okay.
Okay. Any other questions?
And I'm going to add, and this is not a motion, although I had originally proposed it as one, is that if there's any problem with the state pushing back any kind of receipt of monies, we would have to look at spacing, increasing our line of credit that we would have to borrow to meet our monthly bills. Just so that, if the state says, well, you're not going to get all of what's anticipated, you're only going to get so much, then we may need to use more, and we will come back to the board to let them know what that amount would be. Okay?
Okay,
Does that make sense, Barb? Debbie, I mean.
Megan,
Okay, thanks.
have we voted on this motion yet? Okay.
Okay.
All right, so we have a motion before us about using the daily receipts, I believe it is. No. Yes, daily receipts to put into the payroll account. Any other questions or discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Go ahead. Next
The
one.
next issue is the one coming from a bill from, I think it was Oviet, and who are the creators of it?
No, it has to do with
Okay. I
payroll
don't have it
tax-
on. So what was going on is that the federal government was saying that you could have the employee defer payment into the Social Security and get that money in their check. But next year they would have to repay that plus whatever it is they're scripted to pay. So the committee made the following motion. The Finance Committee recommends that the Hoag Library will not participate in the employee payroll tax deferral, as it represents an undue hardship when the employee has to repay in 2021. So from September to the end of December, they were saying they can defer paying into the Social Security, but come next year, they'll have to pay what they normally pay, plus what they didn't pay those last 3 months. So we opted not to extend that hardship to the staff.
Again, it's a motion coming from a committee. It does not need a second. Is there any discussion or questions concerning this? Seeing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that is carried. Next one, Joyce?
The next two are really very, very simple. The Finance Committee recommends accepting the bid from Utica Mutual for the building and liability insurance. And the second motion is the Finance Committee recommends accepting the quote from Travelers for directors and officers insurance. Those are our two insurances for the building and for our staff.
Okay, this is actually to confirm the vote that we took via email.
Yeah.
To explain, the building and liability insurance also includes bonding for employees, so that if someone were to walk off with some monies, that would be covered by insurance. The interesting part of this particular plan from Utica Mutual is that it covers items that are taken out of the building. So technically, if we lost a large number of books or CDs or DVDs or whatever there might be, we can actually claim them on insurance. The one problem that Betty Sue has discovered is we have to do an inventory of all that stuff. So that creates a little bit of hardship on that end.
In fact, if I can interrupt for 1 second, Terry,
Yes.
it is incredible that what I've received from Nioga has been a tremendous help in doing the inventory for this. But I'm up to 24,000 lines of print with all of the prices for those 24,000 books that then have to be correlated into the categories that they want. So I just want to know, this has been a really big thing, and I hope when we're all done that holding on to this inventory with the prices will be helpful the next time to have something to compare it to, because there was nothing on site.
Right.
Thank you.
And I encourage Betty Sue, and I'm not being original, I actually read it in one of the booklets, that for some of the things like our tables, chairs, desks, things like that, you can actually do a video inventory, and as you go through, you can say, director's office, we have a chair, 3 chairs, a desk, a lamp, yada, yada, yada. And that can suffice as far as a inventory. Certainly, one of the problems that we face is in our archives. That probably should be inventoried. It'll probably take quite a while to do that. The directors and officers insurance, that basically covers us. If, generally we're pretty well insulated from any kind of individual liability for actions we take as a board. But there are times, and actually this board has been sued in the past for various things. It's a protection for the board and for the library as a whole. So those are 2 different kinds of insurance. So both of those, let's take the first motion for the building and liability insurance. Again, does not need a second. Any questions or discussion on that?
I have a question. What would the deductible be to even claim something like that? Because there's a price for everything.
Yes.
Right. Betty Sue, do you know?
I have absolutely no idea. I don't.
I saw it.
My question would be, unless someone walked off with 20,000 books, is
Right.
the juice worth the squeeze on it? You know what I mean?
Well, I think it's more in the lines of if we had a fire or tornado, wind, I guess more likely windstorm here than anything
I
else.
can explain a little bit if it helps. I'm looking for my button here that I'm not finding because I'm using the wrong thing. Okay. In talking with our agent, what Utica does differently from the previous companies is, excuse me? No, I'm fine. He's just protecting me. It was one lump sum for everything in the building. There was the exterior portion of the building, and then there was everything interior. Utica requires two different sets of numbers. One is, he described it as saying, if you turn the building over, everything that shakes out is what circulates. Everything that doesn't shake out is what has to be with the building. So the policy for this, as far as the items that we circulate, the estimate is $1.5 million. And with the thing that I just got from Nioga, without trying to find the other things that aren't there, we come up with a total of like 1,200 something. So as I'm making corrections on things, I can see we're going to meet that 1.5 million without any problem.
The ceiling should be dry.
What?
It still doesn't answer the question Linda had about what
It doesn't.
is our
I don't know.
deductible.
Well,
It may be that
we will get back to you on that.
we can bring it up at the next meeting. We'll put that, have that brought up at the next meeting, what our deductible would be for both of those. Well, for that one, for building and ground, there's no deductible on the other one. Are you okay with that, Linda?
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
just writing it down so I don't forget.
Yeah, I mean, we just need to
That's
know,
a good question.
yeah, if we're gonna pay so much and we have a $10,000 deductible or something,
Right.
what that is.
That's an ugly deductible.
I don't think it is. I remember reading some of the stuff, there is no deductible. And of course, for other things there are.
Yeah. So Betty Sue will tell us at the next meeting. Thank you.
Right. Buildings and Grounds has not met nominations and elections. They actually will begin meeting in January. That's their things. Planning, when Dan is the convener for that, when he is feeling better, we'll get that going. Local history, that's been inactive for a while. I did speak with Bill Lanton because the local history tends to have a lot of community people on that. So we'll be working on that as well. Friends of the Library. I don't know if Betty Sue, did you go to that?
I met with Mary Ann today.
Okay.
And they have a couple of things that they would like us to know about. One is that they would like to know what the requirements are from the board on when they can come in and reopen the bookstore. They are not interested in big whoop-de-doo. They don't want more than one person at a time in there, but they're anxious to get back to some sort of semblance of order. So I said I would ask about that tonight. The other thing was they are planning a book sale and a plant sale because all these people have plants. So they're going to divvy up their plants and go through the books here, and they want to do it all out in front under the portico rather than inside the building. So they set the date of September 25th, which is a Friday, from 10 to 3 with a rain date of October 3rd. So I said I would bring it. I don't know that that is something that you have to approve. Mary Ann has the protocols from Nioga because she is one of their board members, and they plan on doing up a list like we have done for reopening. that they can leave there. So anybody who comes in knows they have to have a mask, they have to do hands and all that. So she just wanted to know if it was going to be something that the board was going to allow the Friends to start re-engaging here at the library.
I think it sounds like a great idea.
I do too. I
Okay.
definitely think that's a plus.
Okay.
And I think
It's outside.
Could you
And-
repeat the, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Joy. Could you repeat the date and times for that, Betty Sue?
The original date is September 25th from 10 to 3.
that's my birthday.
Oh, well, you can have a free book. And the rain date for that is October 3rd, also from 10 to 3.
All right,
Well,
okay.
So am I free to just tell them that they are welcome to, as they become comfortable, reopening the bookstore and holding their sale?
well, I would like to break that down into two things.
Yeah, why don't we do
One-
motions just to make it kind of legitimate?
Yeah.
And then but I would agree with Joyce. Let's break it down into two things because they are two separate things. I think I know they're anxious to get back. I talked with Kathy Moore and they have a protocol all set for working in the bookstore, et cetera. So I think we should feel pretty confident that they will be extremely safe. Could I have a motion about the Planton book sale, please?
This is Linda. I'll make a motion.
I'll
Do I have a second? Joyce seconded. Is there any further discussion on that? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is carried. Now a motion concerning reopening the bookstore using the Friends protocol, which they outlined in their minutes. I don't know, do all of you get the minutes? That was a question that Kathy and I had discussion. No? Okay, I will talk with Kathy to make sure she has all of your emails so that you can all get copies of the minutes on that. And just as an advertisement, we are all welcome to attend Friends meetings. She indicated they've been kind of catch as catch can because of COVID. So there hasn't been a regular day right now, but they do hope to get back to that. So if I can have a motion to have them reopen the bookstore.
This is Linda. I'll make a motion.
Okay, do I have a second? I got Carrie. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
So Terry,
Yes.
Terry, would this be a good time for us to talk about the meeting rooms and their utilization? No?
We're gonna talk about that under new business because I have.
Okay.
Terry,
Yes, ma'am.
what is the effective date that they're going to open the bookstore? Immediately?
I don't think so.
No, they had a date. And
Oh,
I'm
okay.
sorry I didn't print it out. I
think
didn't
it's-
print it out.
I think they are looking at opening after they do their sale,
Okay.
because there is so much here that needs to go
They need to
away,
clear
so
some
it all
out.
fits in there.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Right. One of the things that Kathy and I also discussed was, and I say this selfishly, because one of the things we've been doing during the last 6 months is hoeing our own libraries. And I said, when are you going to take take books? And she said, not until the library does.
Yeah.
And so I guess we're going to have to keep on storing ours. She said one of the big problems they have is people come in and they've left them in the garage or in a barn or something like that, and they become mildewed and other things. So we'll have to hold on. And one of the things is I was going through old minutes, going back a few years. One of the things that we were told to do every year was to renew our motion, or what do they call it? Memorandum of understanding between the Friends and ourselves. And I asked I asked Kathy if she had a copy of it, and she said no, that came before her time. And she was going to talk with some of the other members to see if they remember it. But as I look back in the minutes, it was recommended by, I think by an attorney, that every year we should renew our memorandum of understanding with the Friends. Basically, just that, the Friends' purpose is to supplement and help the library, and that's their main focus, and that helps also with their 501(c) status. Any other questions for Friends of the Library? Old business. My understanding is we still do not have a permanent secretary. That is required, it is required by the bylaws that we have a secretary, a corporate secretary for our board. Do I have any nominations?
In the last meeting, I volunteered to be secretary. It's in the minutes.
Oh,
Yeah.
I thought it was for 3 meetings. It wasn't permanent.
Excuse me, in the last meeting, and I did go on Zoom, Linda did volunteer. What happened, it was open up for nominations. Nobody wanted to be secretary, so Linda said she would volunteer, I believe, for 3 months. She said, and then she also said that we could take turns as well, but
Ha ha ha.
I did.
I don't mind doing it.
You don't mind doing what? Because if you're going to be the secretary, we're going to have.
Yep, I don't mind it. I'm good.
Okay.
Then we should,
As long as you guys are all good. If you want to take another vote and see if anyone wants to step up, then.
Wait, that's not what I'm saying, Linda. What I'm saying is we need clarification. Is this going to be a permanent for you, for the year, or is this just going to be 3 months?
No, I assumed, it's not that difficult. I will do the full year.
She will be permanent.
all right, then we ought to do that through the form of a motion. Someone would like to nominate Linda?
I nominate Linda.
Okay, and Joyce is nominated. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Debbie? All in favor?
Aye.
I guess raise your hand, say aye. I can't see some people.
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, I'm sorry, Dan corrected me. I have to ask 3 times. Are there any other further nominations? Any other further nominations? Any other further nominations? Seeing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I'm seeing yeses and hands and, okay, so Linda is permanently our secretary. Betty Sue, do you want to update everybody on the light fixture? Because
Well,
that's an interesting
Yes,
thing.
I can do that. But we do have Joe Gounjo sitting in. And you and I talked earlier about jumping over and letting Joe do the HVAC, and then he can go back to his life before
Okay.
we get into the light fixture.
So if no one objects, if we could suspend the agenda. We have somebody from Gerstner Train. We have a service contract with them for I believe this year is going to be $7,100 is what they're proposing. And my main question is, what are the details of that? I couldn't actually find a contract with it, and so I really don't know what we get for our $7,100. So Joe, if you could explain about the
Sure.
contract.
Yep, no, and that's perfectly understandable. One of the flaws in our operating systems is on a renewal, we send a letter like you received that just says, here's the new rate due to inflation, scope of work remains the same as previous term, but there's no more information than that. Bad assumption that people retain the records and they have the original scope of work from, in your guys' case, from 2015. So valid questions and perfectly understandable why you might be confused as to what everything entails. If you don't mind, I can share my screen and I can go through that, what equipment is covered and the scope of work that goes along with it.
Please.
Okay. It looks like I need someone to give me permission for sharing.
He
Michael,
heard
can you
you.
do that?
Yep. Are you on that, Mike? He's on it. He just says he's never actually done this, so
Okay.
you're our test case. Do you have any hints on how to do that, Joe?
I don't. Typically, we use Microsoft Teams in our world.
Okay.
I don't host too many Zoom meetings. I usually just am an attendee.
So
Sorry
when
about
I-
this, everyone. I'm working on it.
And when I clicked on it, it says host disabled participant screen sharing. So somebody just has to enable it again.
Thanks, Debbie.
I do meetings all the time.
I still want to know how your San
Oh,
Diego.
there we go.
went.
Try
We
it
are-
now.
All right, looks like I have permission now. So
There you go.
everyone can see equipment coverage and services.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so this is the list of equipment for your HVAC system. We have a split system, which is comprised of the outdoor unit that you see when you come in through the back, and then the air handler unit, which is inside on the mezzanine. There's the control system. There is the boiler system for heating the building. There's 2 boilers there up on the mezzanine. There's 2 hot water heaters up on the mezzanine for your domestic hot water. There's 2 pumps that distribute the water to all the to the air handler and the various VAV boxes with reheats. There's a couple of unit heaters hanging in the mezzanine area to keep the space warm there. And then the VAV boxes are variable air volume boxes, which act as a duct damper, which modulates airflow to the different spaces in the library, and there's 10 of those. So we look at each of those pieces of equipment once a year. I'll zoom out here a little bit more.
Joe, can I
Yep.
ask a question?
Sure.
You said you do it once a year?
Correct. We make several visits throughout the year, but each piece of equipment gets touched at least once a year. The air handler gets touched twice a year.
Okay. Is it,
So
do you try to do some of them one trip and some of them another trip?
correct. It's a seasonal thing. As you'll see as we go through the tasks, some of the work we do in the spring, some of the work we do in the summer, and some of the work we do in the fall. So for the air handler that moves the air throughout all the building, we have a visit that we do in the spring here. So we call it a comprehensive annual inspection. We go through the general assembly, we go through the lubrication, we go through the safeties and controls, the motor and the starter. And I've also sent a copy of this to Betty Sue over emails as the meeting was getting started, so she has it and she can distribute it.
I
You can
will
have
do
it.
that.
You can have it for your minutes in the meeting. You can distribute it for everyone to have for review. Then we do a heating inspection in the fall to make sure that everything's ready for the heating season. So it's 2 visits on the air handler.
So Joe, I just want to
Sure.
make sure that I'm understanding this.
Yep.
So basically that $7,100 represent labor inspection and not for any parts.
Nope, there are materials as well. I was just about to get to that.
Okay, good.
So on these air handler visits, we supply 4 filter changes for the year. We will come in the spring and change there's 2 sets of filters on this air handler. There's a pre-filter and then there's a final filter. The pre-filter is a MERV 8 filter and the final filter is a MERV 14 filter. A lot of you probably don't necessarily know what a MERV means, but you've probably heard the MERV ratings in the news with all the reopenings and malls and gyms, the governor saying you need at least a MERV 13 filter. So for indoor air quality standards, you can be comfortable knowing that you're above that minimum rating that the governor is recommending for certain businesses. You're at a MERV 14. So now for the filters, the pre-filters get changed quarterly. The final filter gets changed annually. And in the spring, we change filters. In the fall, we change filters. And to help minimize visits and costs to you guys, we leave a spare set of filters behind that you're able to change on your own in between our inspections. So if we come out in March and change filters, we'll leave a set of filters behind so that in, say, July, you guys can swap the pre-filters out and when they get plugged up and dirty. Now, the next unit is the condensing unit. That's the box that's outside on the ground in the back of the building. That does the bulk of the work for the cooling, similar to what you would have outside your house if you have air conditioning. So we'll check that in the spring, and we'll make sure that that's all ready to go for the cooling season. And then as it rejects heat into the atmosphere, there's fans on it that draw air across the coil and push the air up through so that the heat from the building can get rejected to the atmosphere. Over time, with the air drawing through that coil, it gets plugged up and dirty and needs to be cleaned. And usually right after all the fuzzies fly in the spring, you know, late June, that's when it really needs to be done. So we come out in the summer, usually late June, early July, and we'll rinse that unit down so that it can continue to reject heat properly for you through the high heat part of the summer. Then we have some unit heaters. Those two hanging unit heaters that I mentioned in the mezzanine and the storage areas that help keep that space warm. We check those out in the fall right before heating season. The temperature controls will come out in the spring and do an annual inspection on the controls, check for the safeties, download the software to back everything up in case there should be a failure. We have a backup of everything. We put the latest and greatest versions of the software on there for you, so you're always running at peak efficiency on the controls. The domestic hot water heaters and the gas-fired boilers, we look at those in the fall, right before heating season. Along with the pumps, we do that in the fall as well. With the controls in the spring, we do all the VAV boxes because those go hand in hand with the controls. The control system tells the boxes when to open and close based on the space temperatures. And that talks to the air handler and tells it how much air to push through the building based on those boxes being open and closed. So we look at everything at least once a year, if not more. On the boilers and the hot water tanks, there are more parts there. There's igniters, there's flame rods, there's sensors that have to be changed and replaced on an annual basis. So of that $7,100, there's probably about, I would say, somewhere between $2,000 and $2,500 in materials, and the rest is labor.
Okay.
Joe, can I ask you, this is Betty Sue again.
Sure.
Starting a few years ago, when we had you start changing the air filters, that represented a cost savings to us as opposed to having someone go buy them. That's included with this agreement, correct?
Correct. Well, initially in 2015, when we started the service agreement for you, someone else, between you and another provider, there was a combination of filters being provided. So we were not providing any air filters. And then after conversations, right, and now after conversations over the years, we determined that we could get those filters for you for less and do those during our current visits to save you labor on their end for coming and changing them. So we had a savings on materials, we had a savings on labor for you by rolling the filters into our program.
Yep. Thank you.
Yep.
I had a couple of questions. One is, so if we have an emergency, as we did,
yep.
But by having a service contract, does I guess I would look at two different things. The service visit, do we get a discount in that, or is that because it's an extraordinary thing billed at the regular rate? No,
you, because you have a service agreement with us, you are considered a preferential customer. So when you have a service call, you get treatment before someone that doesn't have a service agreement. So if there's a line of people waiting to be served, you go to the top of the list as a service agreement customer, and we usually have a 4-hour response time or better if it's true emergency, but sometimes it's a, hey, we'll be back in the morning, can you come then? But so you get preferential treatment on response time, and you get preferential treatment on billing. So our normal street rate is $175 an hour for a mechanical technician. You would get a rate of $145 an hour because you have a service agreement with us.
And the same question I have for parts. And I realize this isn't like my old oil burner where they'd have to replace a a jet or something like that. Obviously, these are larger parts. Is there a discount by that?
Yeah, actually, another benefit you have too is because you belong to the Omnia Partners Cooperative Purchasing Program. Trane is the premier HVAC provider on that program. So we have a list of savings and multipliers that we give to you on the products and the services we provide that go along with that Omnia Cooperative Purchasing Program. That's a nationwide program that you guys belong to, and we provide you the discounts on that program.
And once again, this is Betty Sue, if I can interject again. I sent out, when Joe sent the quote for replacing the air compressor as part of the condensing unit, that you indicated what our savings was for that bill based on belonging to that association.
Yeah, I don't recall that number off the top of my head, but
I
that
don't
is
either.
correct.
That's why I'm not giving it, but I know you included it, and that's what I forwarded to the board for consideration. It was either to the whole board or at least to the finance committee, because the decision had to be made right away.
If you give me a moment,
I probably
can
could find it.
probably find it.
Okay.
It was $2,500 in savings.
What I was gonna say, 2,500. Mhm.
Yeah. Yep.
I remember.
Over
Thank
what
you.
we would have charged someone that wasn't part of the Omnia program.
Yep.
Okay, I wasn't there. So.
Okay.
I'm sure I read it, but doesn't mean stuck.
Yeah, and the bill was just under 6,000.
Mhm.
So that was a significant savings.
Mhm.
Do any other board members have any questions? Yeah, I mean.
I'm good with it.
For the repair? Joe, could you repeat what the bill for the repair was? Our secretary.
Oh, sure. Yes. The compressor repair was just under 6,000. It was like 5,900 and change. And and if it was to someone that wasn't on the Omnia Cooperative program like you guys are, it would have been $8,500.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions? Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate you taking time out of your life to answer these questions.
You're welcome. That's part of my job. I'm here to help you guys. And I mentioned this to Betty Sue the other day when we were talking on the phone. With that service agreement, it's not just our technicians' visits to your building, taking care of the equipment. It's also my ability to convey information and knowledge to you guys whenever you need it. So, that's part of the program. You get my knowledge, you get my expertise, you get the rest of the company behind me to support you with questions that you might have like this. Things like indoor air quality that are popping up all the time now in these current times. So anything that comes up anytime, Betty Sue knows how to reach me. Feel free to reach out with questions. I don't have a problem coming into these meetings and helping you guys better understand your building and how to take care of it.
Very good.
Thank
All right.
you,
Thank you
Joe.
so much.
You're welcome. Have a good night.
Thanks.
All right.
Take care.
Bye.
Huh? Mm-hmm.
So I have a question before we go on with Betty Sue.
Yes.
What's it cost to be in that whatever program, the Omni, whatever?
We don't pay, they
That-
pay.
That's part of the $7,100.
Yeah, it's not a divvied out thing. It's really not about our membership in that group, it's about theirs.
Okay.
And because we are their customer. So yes, I'm sure you could find it in there somewhere, but I have no idea how or why. I can ask if you want me to.
I
I'm good.
think that's good. We had suspended our agenda. Do we want to take this up, or do we want to defer it to the committee, or do we want to continue with our agenda? What's the pleasure of the board?
I say we continue with our agenda.
Okay. We're in
Because
the midst of the light
just-
fixture.
Terry, just one more thing.
Yeah.
We've already committed to pay for it. This was just to help us clarify.
No,
No, we have not.
We have
no,
not,
no.
then,
That's why
don't
I'm
we
asking.
need to go ahead and finalize this then?
It is,
The
it is,
question, I'm sorry. My bad.
go ahead, Betty Sue, please.
The question was raised originally because we had some outside work done by Kurt Strickland. Joe Gounjo recommended that we not have them do it
That's right.
because
The
it would have
finance
cost
committee is on this.
a lot of
Yeah.
money. So in the course of things, I sent out to you the
Yes, I remember.
suggestion from Kurt and from here, and then Terry was checking with some other people. I've done some
Exactly.
others.
So it's coming back to us next
It's
month.
coming
That's
back to
fine.
you, but it has to be done before the end of the month,
Remember,
so
Yes,
we can not have a lapse in
Yes.
service.
yeah,
And-
we'll
and
know
one
at
of
the
the-
next finance meeting.
Yeah.
Exactly.
and one of the questions was, do they have a step-down plan taking into consideration Kurt's work? Because Joe knows him, feels he's qualified to do this work, and he's also would be one to say, this isn't something I'm qualified to do. So the next question is, do they have a step-down plan from the 7,100 where we could use Kurt in lieu of Gerstner Train?
Okay, yeah, I remember. That's your research project.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. But we do have to make a decision before September 30.
Mhm.
Light fixture update?
Did I send out the cost from Go Forth Electric?
No.
The cost to repair or to replace the light pole that was bashed over is 500 or 5,000 some odd dollars. I talked to our insurance agent, Kyle Kurlowski, and because this took place when we were still under Philadelphia's insurance, if it has to go to our insurance, that's who it will go to. I've called, and today, just today, they wanted the police report and the quote for the replacement of the pole. I have sent both of them to the insurance company. Yesterday, I called up to the county to speak to victims assistance. I've had some question in my mind about why would the library's insurance be responsible for this when the accident happened because a 13-year-old boy was scouring around on the county lot, checking vehicles, found one that was unlocked and had the keys left in it, and stole it from there, brought it here, ran across the light pole. So when I called, they're like, well, we can ask for restitution, but he's 13. I don't think you'll get it, blah, 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 blah. Then they turned me over to Joe Cardone. And I explained to Joe that somehow it doesn't seem real fair that this is the library's responsibility. He said, well, you can't expect the county to pay for that, can you? It's not their fault. And I said, well, isn't there something
It
called
is.
an attractive nuisance? And the fact that an employee left the keys in the vehicle, blah, blah, blah. I sent it off to our insurance, and Joe's final comment was, well, let's see what the insurances will do, and if you need help, you can get back to me, which is not the way I like to do things, but we'll see.
But Betty Sue,
Yes.
did you make an inquiry of our lawyer as to,
No, I don't contact the lawyer without direction.
okay,
So I
well,
wouldn't have
I
done that.
actually think if we don't have to charge it to our insurance, because normally that means next time it's gonna
know.
go up.
I know.
So I would add, that would be something I think we should consult with our lawyer and have them contact the county and see if they'll feel differently when there's because the county employee left the key in there.
Correct.
The kid didn't break the window and get the key. He had
Correct.
access, you know, and so
So there's a certain amount of negligence here.
yes.
And that was the approach I was taking with it.
So the thing is though, the attorney really won't have anything to do with it. This is probably a case of our
Insurance companies.
insurance going after their insurance company and let them battle it out. I think we're just gonna pay money for a lawyer that we don't need to pay.
Yeah, I would tell you what my brother-in-law and my father, who were insurance agents, would tell you, and they would say, do your insurance and let the two insurance agents or two insurance companies battle it out. Because if we involve our lawyer, eventually it's going to involve our insurance lawyer, then it'd be our lawyer additionally, which we have to pay for, and then of course the county's insurance company. If we just turn it over to our insurance, that's part of why we pay premiums.
There is also one more little advantage, maybe, and that is because this happened before we switched insurances, the insurance company isn't going to raise our rates because
That's
we
true.
already switched.
That's true.
So,
Okay.
At this point, I wait to, Betty Sue, did you, I had to get up and move around because we went dark, and did you mention about the 4th generation light and all that kind of stuff?
yeah, the problem is our lamp pole is the 1st generation of this model that the company made. They're now on the 4th generation, so it has to be specially made. It's not something they can just haul out of stock. So that was that problem. There's one more thing I did not write down, but I do need to ask you what you want me to do with it. The pole was not damaged at all. It is metal. It is, and the young man who was here was kind enough to cut it into hunks for us, and it's stuck in the closet out in the foyer. And I started to give it to Barb Kyler and said, here, go do what you can with it. And I thought, oh God, this is taxpayer stuff. I can't be giving it away. So I need to know what you want me to do with this metal that was that was our light pole.
Yeah. Well, we can declare it a scrap, and then we can dispose of it any way we want. So
and it's not something you have to decide today. It's not in the way.
Right.
It's not hurting anything. So just think about it, and we'll bring it back up again.
Yeah, as far my personal opinion is, I would say turn it over to insurance, let them battle it out. If we can get a 4th generation light out of it, I told Betty Sue, if their insurance or our insurance is going to pay for the light, I don't really care what generation it is. Just
you want it to match.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll just keep you updated then as I go through the insurance with it.
All right.
Okay.
One of the things that we hadn't completed were committee assignments, and I'd asked people to volunteer. We do have to outfit our committees, and they are fixed in the bylaws. Currently, the Personnel Committee is Joyce Riley, Debbie DeBarco, and Gloria Nodden. The Finance is Gloria Nodden, myself, and Joyce Riley. Gloria and I are on that based on bylaws. Buildings and Grounds, we have Linda Weller, Joyce Riley, Anitra Bennett, and myself. I would like to ask Debbie DeBarco and Anitra Bennett and Dan Conrad to be the Nominations and Election Committee. That takes about 2 to 3 meetings. And then for Planning Committee, Dan Conrad is convener. I'm on that, and I would ask Carrie Deacon to be involved in that. And then Local History, I would like to ask Linda Weller to be the convener on that. And also if Kathy Harling could be involved in that as well. As I indicated, there would be some community members, Bill Lanton being one of them. And there is some work that the Local History probably should be working on over the course of this year. So unless anybody has any objections to that, that's where we'll be. If you would like, if you would like to be on an additional committee, please indicate that you would like to be on it. The only thing we have to be careful of is we can't have any more than 4 members on it, because if there are 5 members on it, it constitutes a quorum of the board, and and we can actually take action in lieu of the board. So we have to be very careful about that. All right. Okay. New business. I sent everybody a copy of the resolution that Morgan Stanley provided for us. Our signatories are designated under our policy to be the president, the vice president, and treasurer for any of our accounts. Some companies, some banks, or financial institutions require a specific resolution. I've had to do this with when I was with other nonprofits where they had specific banks and they would send us over a resolution. Basically, what this does is it allows us to deposit money with Morgan Stanley and allows, it would be myself, Anitris, or Gloria to sign money. And basically what we would do, based on our policy, the tax levy goes into the Morgan Stanley account. And at various times during a year, we access that to cover our budget. And basically what this resolution does is it allows us to deposit and allows us to withdraw money so that we can move it into our checking account so that we can cover our expenses. Are there any questions on that? I would need a motion to approve it.
I'll make a motion, Mr. President.
Okay, could I have a second? Linda was the one who made that. Could I have a second?
I'll
Dan seconds it.
Dan does.
Any discussion or questions? Hearing none. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Yay.
Opposed? Nay? None? The motion is carried. Now, one of the discussions Betty Sue brought up in her report, and she and I discussed it about having it under new business. As we move along, should we expand our hours, moving back to 10 to 8 on Monday through Thursday? Perhaps adding Saturday hours, taking a look at when do we start library programs again and under what circumstances? Room reservations and what kind of, when do we want to do that and what are restrictions, although I think that would be more of a thing that Betty Sue would have to determine based on rules and regulations of the state and rules for small groups and tutoring. Betty Sue has received some requests to do some study groups, I believe, and some individual tutoring either through the school district or OCALs. So, Betty Sue, did you want to discuss it a little bit?
Sure. There are a couple of people who have asked if they could meet one-on-one with someone here to do tutoring. One is a student at the school, and it would be 2 days a week because the other 2 days he would be on home instruction, the same as the rest of the kids would. I'd had requests from OCALs wanting to know when they can start doing some of their literacy volunteer work here. I had a phone call the other day. Somebody wanted to know if they could have a room. There were 4 people that wanted to run a study group. There are several instances where I have let someone use the room because I felt it was something that was important above and beyond regular regulations, but I made sure that it didn't violate any rules. One was when they were trying to train people to do census. We need as much counting out here as we can get so that we don't lose any more funding than we already lose. So they were limited to 3 people in a room and whatever. I don't want us to start advertising for it yet because I am concerned. We have a lot of big groups that come in. Scope, for example, is one of the larger groups. The Sheriff's Department pistol permit classes are held here, and it's a tough thing. So I don't know what you want. What is your recommendation that we do as far as room reservations are concerned whether or not we just do what we feel is okay on the QT. What we limit to sizes, we limit to locations, we limit to groups. I'm just looking for some direction here. Don't all jump at once.
As far as people coming in, do they have to sign a contact tracing
No,
sheet saying that they haven't been any place, they don't have a fever? I think that's
No,
something,
but that we could do if somebody was coming in to use a room.
right. That I think you have to do. I think it's like part of a state mandate. I know we have to do it. Another thing is, you almost kind of have to limit it to, hey, we're gonna only have rooms. I think, me personally, this is not me as the board, this is just me. I think that if you're gonna open some up, it would be for just possibly tutoring. Because I don't believe once school starts, I don't want to open it back up just to shut it all back down again.
No, I don't either. I agree.
Dan just said the same
Even
thing, and
with
I
the
said the same
tutoring,
thing to Betty
You
Sue.
need to limit the size of, because there will be one teacher who may want to tutor like 6 kids. And is that what's going to be acceptable? You know what I mean? Some families
Most of
who
the
are,
tutoring, Joyce, most of the tutoring that goes on here is one-on-one. Because if it's
Yes.
coming from the
but
school,
that wasn't COVID times.
that's true. And we did have a BOCES call us asking if they could do some small groups here who needed to be off-site from school systems. So you're right, those questions are gonna come up constantly.
So if we,
I have no problem if you think that we can limit it to one-on-one tutoring. We have a tutor room. It's cleaned every day.
you know, even if the tutoring thing went up to, say even 6, as long as the tables were set up and say we had one of the meeting rooms that we meet in and they're separated like that and stuff doesn't get moved unless it's cleaned.
Mhm.
They have to wear masks. They have to check in that COVID contact tracing sheet so we know who's been in there.
Yeah.
In
Right.
case someone comes down with it, we can say, yes, on September 12th, we had A, B, C, D students in here. And that way we actually have a record of it.
And we plan on giving to the tutors the lists of rules that we set in place for anyone who came into the library, which is you have to have your mask on, and keep the 6 feet distance and blah, blah, blah. And I think too, if they're using the tutor room, they can open the window.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another
Well,
recommendation.
for now.
Yeah. Yep.
But even though they're tutoring, unless they're like Dan and I and Megan are right now, and you can't see us, but Megan's probably 15 feet away and Dan's about 20 feet away. If they're not 6 feet away or even 8 feet away, they should be wearing their mask at all times,
Yes.
because you can talk with them.
Right.
And one of the things Betty Sue and I discussed, we didn't put anything, just a discussion of, should we have people sign an acknowledgement? Yes, I've received these rules, or yes, I agree to these rules. Should we do something like that, or should we just hand them to them and say, these are our rules and you have to follow them or you can't use the library?
I think if they come in, they have to sign that each and every time, along with fill out the contact tracing sheet.
Right.
Okay.
And also, if you're in a room and you're in there with people and you're in there for more than 15 minutes without your mask off, that is an issue. So I think masks should be worn all times if they're tutoring, only because of that. They're proven if you're in a room with someone for more than 15 minutes, unless you can guarantee the airflow, which is fine for now, you could have the windows open, but in the winter, you're not going to have those windows open.
Right.
Right. And we do have the airflow
I
here.
think also the sheet with the rules and regulation should say that anyone found to be in violation, their privileges would be removed.
Okay.
All right, let me ask you
Because-
another question. If there's going to be somebody being tutored here, if it's through the school, usually it's pretty long-term. What we have done for the staff here is each staff member has a notebook, and they come in every day, check that they haven't had any symptoms, take their temperature, and the time they come in and the time they leave. We could just set up a book for a student being tutored and for the tutor, that they could just check off the requirements each day they come in, rather than have them have to sign a separate piece of paper each time.
Right,
Does that work?
That sounds like a
yeah,
plan.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll just have Barb make the same thing she made for the rest of us.
right.
Thank you.
As long as we can make sure that
Oh.
they're actually following through on it each time.
And
Oh, I will.
we're doing temperature checks of anybody coming in for
No.
tutoring?
No, oh, for tutoring, yes. I
Okay.
would do them because they are going to be here for an extended period. I did have someone in the other day who was coughing something awful.
I remember.
Were you here then?
Yeah, I took off right away.
Oh, well, did you know I took her temperature?
No,
I
I
went
took
over.
off.
Okay, I went over and I said, I'm going to imagine you're going to tell me you have allergy because, oh my God, it's awful. And
It sounded like-
she said, I just didn't bring any cough drops. And I said, well, for the sake of the staff and everyone's comfort here, would you mind if I took your temperature? And she said, absolutely not. I'd be happy to have you do that. So we took it. It was 97. So I wasn't worried. But at the time, the coughing was really, she goes, yeah, I want to wear a sign around my neck that says I have bad fall allergies. So we do that when we need to. Okay.
They do have standalone temperature scanners also available that you could
Well,
put.
ours are just the touchless, aim it at them and shoot.
I just meant if they came through the door, it'd beep like red, going, "Hey, get out of here."
Good.
I will tell you, and Dan reminded me, his sister had COVID. She never had a temperature. And I do know at the nursing home where my mother is, they've had 19 positives, all asymptomatic. None of them had temperatures or anything like that. So,
Great.
it's one indicator, but it's not always.
I thought it was pretty universal. I
Yeah.
didn't know that.
No.
Well, it's the only thing I can do here. But so just tell me.
We can do what we can do, and we're trying to make it as safe as possible.
I have a question. When you check the temperature, would that, for the tutors, will that be recorded on that sheet that Linda had mentioned?
Yes, I would have the tutor and the tutee
Mm-hmm.
each keep a notebook because they'd be here at least a couple days a week
Okay.
for a long period of time. And there's your notebook and there's where you signed in, the date, the time, the temperature.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, well, we can't write the temperature down because that violates HIPAA, but we can check mark that there was no temperature over, 99, I think it is.
I think that question about the HIPAA was brought up with Stephanie Adams, and she says, I believe she said that because we're not a health facility,
That's
the
true.
HIPAA may not apply to us. But I don't want to get involved in.
No, I don't either.
I know when I picked
How about
this
How about
stuff-
small groups? Like I said, Betty Sue has received some requests for small groups. Do we want to set a size limit?
I say
or-
right now we just try and stick with the tutors and see how that goes.
Okay,
Okay.
Anyone else?
Baby steps.
baby step.
That
All
way
right,
we
so-
don't have to pull back.
Okay.
I-
So for right
yeah.
now, we're just going to do tutoring. And as I said a while ago, there have been a couple of times that I have let someone in, but that's just been my decision. And I would hope you would allow me to still do that when I felt it was in the community best interest. And outside of that, we will leave the other visitation and room reservations alone, especially as we see how the schools make out.
I think I've heard that a number of times. Let's, if the school blows up with cases, then we don't want to be in a situation where suddenly we have people here because they can't go to school.
Yep.
Or coming
So
to
what do you want to
programs.
do about the hours? That's the other thing that I have people waiting for a decision on.
How many people stay there until you guys close right now?
Almost none.
And then I say
Um,
3
In
hours.
fact, I believe I mentioned that in my report.
Right.
Yeah.
That
You
it is
did.
busy first thing, and then we'll get a little blurb somewhere mid-afternoon, and then somewhere between 4 and 4:30 usually, it drops right off to nobody. So,
I say keep it the same because I don't see people coming back until we have a vaccine and this thing dies down.
I would agree,
Well-
and particularly with I think, again, let's wait and see what the school happens for the school. Because a
Kathy,
school
look
will
at
be
all
an
that you
indicator.
have to do.
A school will
I
be an
do
indicator.
think we do need Saturday hours. However brief, I would like to see us have a few hours on Saturday. Even if the
That's
week
your decision.
remains the same, there are some people that would like a Saturday hours. Sometimes that's the only time a parent is with their child that they can bring them in. So even if we're open like from 10 to 1 on Saturday, just for a few hours.
Betty Sue, what was our hours before on Saturday?
10 to 5. Saturdays have never been highly used.
Okay.
And in the summertime, they're almost non-existent unless we had programs going. But I do know that it's always been important to past board members, and probably a lot of you here, that we get the hours restored so that people can depend on the library.
I don't see it happening right now. I just don't.
I don't either.
I
I
would
don't
love
either.
it, believe me, I'd love to open up and hey, we have such a high demand, we have to stay open till 9 at night and, all day Saturday. But, going out as I do, people just aren't going out.
No.
I hate to tell you, this is me going out. This is all, I come to the library, I went to my dentist, and I went to my doctor, and that's all I've ever done. Oh, I got my hair cut, you may have noticed. So.
Maybe we can start, we can start talking with people, especially, I think where you would see people more on Saturdays might be, as Joyce said, families. Our numbers are not bouncing back that much. We broke 100 for the first time last week.
I think it's like everything else. People are just leery going out.
I don't know if Mrs. Harlan can possibly, she would know more about this than I did, but I know that the school did that thought exchange. And maybe we can do something like that and throw it out there to see what the community interest might be for Saturday hours. Kathy, I'm not sure if you have any idea how that works.
How did that work?
I'm not entirely sure. I know that I think there's a charge to it if you use it frequently, but I think we got one thought exchange for free and he ended up being able to negotiate a second one or something. And we sent out a text alert and email blast and posted it on the website, and anybody could go on and put their thoughts on, and then you would rate each other's thoughts. And it was we got some really good participation. We got some great feedback from it.
Yeah, I think our numbers were pretty high as what could be high in the situation, right?
Yeah, they definitely were.
I guess my one concern is our social media footprint isn't that strong. We just can't seem to crack it with our community here, and I don't know why.
Well, but we have the digital signage, so if we put something up there going, we want your opinions, check here, and we kept it up there. What else are we really advertising right now?
Yeah. What would you think if I worked with the staff and looked at their ideas of how we could reach out to people? And I don't know if that would mean we would wait until October, or you want me to reach out with the information and decide before that. But we can certainly look at how to gather information. But we have also commented that I'm stunned at how many people say, oh, I didn't know you were doing that. It's like, it was on the sign. I had somebody posted something on Facebook the other day about this guy who drew a path on his driveway for the little kids in the neighborhood to ride their bikes. So I get a message from a friend who says, oh, you ought to do something like this at the library. Said, well, we did have a chalk it up day the other day where kids came and they drew, and I was telling her one family came and they drew a whole Candyland board and then played the game. And she had no idea we'd done any of it. It's one of the ways I wish we could get some coverage from Tom, before we do things rather than after we do things.
Well, and one of the things that, we briefly discussed before, I don't know how many of you are on Facebook or the other kinds of social medias. What are they?
Instagram.
Instagram, things like that.
Twitter.
But,
Yeah.
Twitter,
but
yeah.
if you are, if you can go to our website and like it and share it, share the children's program,
Yes.
we don't have a lot of, if Mike does a virtual craft day, share those things.
Yep.
That's where we're going to start getting the multiplication of and the inclusion from social media. We
problem
kind
is-
of take it on as a effort by the board to increase our social media footprint.
The problem with that though is I like the library's page. I don't always see it. And if it's out of sight, it's out of mind.
Yeah.
So if what we started doing at work was, hey, if you're going to post something, send it to us out in an email. We'll go on it, look at it, click it, share it.
I can do that.
Yeah.
I mean, it is
Dave?
just a reminder, but like I was talking to Betty Sue, I don't know, last week, and she said something, I'm like, I never saw that.
Yep, we did have this conversation.
Dan runs a outdoors page. How many followers you have, Dan? He has like 3,700. I even posted something. I posted zucchini season is open, which got and it got a whole bunch of people laughing and things like that, because he's generally posting like X number of days to bow hunting or bass tournaments and things like that. So it's really the sharing that does it. But what Linda says is, yeah, if we could get an email, because sometimes I just forget to go on the page. So are there any other ideas? And I'll probably forget something. That's why I have to write things down.
Did we decide, what did we decide to do about, or what did you decide to do about hours?
I think we were going to wait for see what happens in the school. Is that pretty much it? We in agreement?
That was my thought.
Yeah, I think everybody is nodding their heads, and Dan's been talking to me here, and he says, the school could just blow up, and that's just an indicator of what's happening in the community, I would say. But I would say, yeah, let's wait. We'll visit it again in October.
Okay. So that left the one that I wrote down here because I'd forgotten to mention it in my report was, can our volunteers come back?
Oh, right.
I've had 2 people who volunteered here every week who've been dying to come back, and
I don't see a problem.
Why not if they follow all the COVID rules?
Yeah.
which they will because they have to.
Right.
I think we were concerned about causing someone's illness, and I don't see any reason they can't either. It's their risk.
I don't
They want to
either.
be here. I'm glad to have them.
And I think if people are following protocol, particularly with the mask and hand washing, their chances of contracting something are pretty minimized.
Yep. Okay.
I look at it as what Walt Disney World did. You can go there and they have all these safety protocols, and at the bottom it says it is your understanding the inherent risk that, it doesn't mean you're not going to get it by coming here.
Got it.
Right. Well,
Okay. Thank you.
all right. Any other business to come before the board? I will point out the upcoming meetings and events, including the end of the month. Just September 30th is the deadline for early registration for the NILA conference. I finally got some information on what they have running. I will send that out to board members. They have their regular meeting things where they have a main speaker and things like that. They also have some speakers that are going to be a synchronous thing where you have to be there at 2 o'clock to watch the person, but they're also just going to have some asynchronous stuff where you can just go on and at any point in time and see these, but you would have to pay we would have to pay the registration fee, which I think for board members is $45, I believe. and I would assume that the library would pick that up. Also, and that trade, the NYLA conference and trade show is November 5th and 6th. And from what I can see, that starts at 10 a.m. on November 5th, and there's things throughout the day and into the night. Obviously, if you want to have a banquet, you're going to have it at home with yourself and your family. I did see that NYLA has a couple of webinars coming up. One is combating racism in libraries, creating spaces to educate people. It appears to be an ongoing series starting next Wednesday from 2 to 3. And then another program on the 23rd of September, engaging millennials as friends and volunteers. So those are a couple of things. Winnie Lark is also having, and this may be more for library staff, presentation on the preservation grant writing, which is tomorrow from 1 to 3. And what libraries need to know to survive a ransomware attack, which is September 24th from 1 to 2. So if anybody would like to, we're members of Winnie Lark, so you're allowed to, you just pre-register and go on. I've taken a couple of their things over the last year, so they tend to be fairly good.
Hey, Terry, how many of those things are actually directed to board members, trustees, as opposed to library staff?
Well, the ones that I accessed were really for trustees. And they, both of those were Stephanie Adams discussing reopening and closing with COVID-19. And the remarks, most of the remarks were that this was really directed toward trustees.
And Terry, the last two that you mentioned, you didn't, I'm not, am I missing it on the,
I sent out the ones about preservation grant and what libraries need to know to survive a ransomware attack.
yeah.
I found those after I revised the agenda, and I can post those, and I can also send out all the things that I found from the NYLA conference and trade show. Because I think, because we don't have to go to Glens Falls or Saratoga, wherever it was, we have greater access to it as a library.
I'd
or as
appreciate
trustees.
that, thank you.
Terry,
Yes.
I was just looking through my pack here. I'm just gonna ask that, and maybe I got it wrong, but we somehow missed the review expenditures for the month, because one of the things process we were trying to put into place at each meeting was that the members would be able to review the check disbursements for the month to see if there were any questions, as well as to, and if we need to get started with that approval process.
Right.
And that's why we should be sending this out ahead of time so that they can come, with their questions, so we don't spend a lot of time with it. But that it's
And
part of our
I-
fiduciary, right?
Yes, and I remember typing that in, and then I remember deleting it, I actually cut it to put it to someplace else and never put it in. I'll be flat out honest.
So if we're not doing it today, absolutely, it has to be on the agenda for the
Sure.
next month so that it gets approved
Correct,
thereafter.
correct.
And I know
Okay.
Barb did send that out with her report.
Yes,
It did go out.
yes, you did.
Okay,
Thank you for that.
so we need to make some kind of motion to accept those expenditures unless someone has questions about an expenditure
I'll
per our
make,
policy.
I'll make a motion to accept.
Thank you. I second.
Okay, so that was for the expenditures. I believe that Barb sent those out.
Yes,
Um,
from 8/7 to 9/4.
Yeah, and I remember I typed that in, and then I meant to put it in a different place in the agenda and messed it up.
Right,
9/4.
right.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that passes.
I would
Anything
ju-
else?
Yeah, I would just like to mention, it was brought up at the meeting last month that Megan's notes will be sent to all board members. And that was discussed and it was agreed upon. Because the minutes that we have, we just put in certain things, but it was agreed that all board members would get a copy of Megan's notes. And I would like to make sure that will happen.
Okay,
Okay.
I have one more thing if we're still doing things. Barb just texted me and said she still needs some people's conflict of interest forms.
yes.
Mm.
If you can get
So
those
I
to
will-
her,
Pardon? Yes,
if
get
people
those
can get those
to
to
her.
her.
Yep.
Betty Sue,
Carrie
you
Carrie
said that,
probably needs to have that policy sent to her and a form, right?
I'm sorry, who does?
Carrie probably has
Okay.
received that.
also Anitris does, because I had asked like a while ago and you never emailed it to me.
I'm
Pardon me?
sorry.
Nope, you're good.
Okay, Denitris and Carrie. And is there anyone else who knows they
Carrie's
need?
shaking her head. She's
Dan-
probably on another mute. Hang on a minute.
Dan needs one as well.
Carrie, you're still muted.
Doesn't show it muted.
Yeah, but if she's muted on her own headphone, you can't hear her.
Ah, see, you know this stuff.
But it doesn't seem to be
You
working.
need this stuff, Carrie?
You check off that you've read it and then sign it. Yeah, you don't have any conflicts.
Carrie, you could send a chat message so that we could see what you're.
All right, Barb just got back to me again. She said Carrie received yours yesterday,
Okay,
and they had been sent out twice to everyone's emails earlier. So if you check
Okay.
your emails, you'll probably find them.
check, spam. If you have such a thing, if you have a Apple product, you won't have spam, from my understanding. But,
And one more last thing. Everyone has done the sexual harassment that's required.
who are we giving that to? Are we giving that to Barb to put in a folder?
That's what we've done in the past.
I still have to do mine.
I have to do mine, yeah.
Yeah,
I've done it about 40 times, but you have to do it every
yeah,
year.
but they're requiring it every year because
Yep.
evidently people keep forgetting.
Yep.
I'll email her my certificate from work tomorrow.
Okay.
Perfect. Okay.
Yep. Anything else? If not, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
Dan seconded. All in favor? Click off.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. We'll see you next month or at a committee meeting.
Thank you.
Night.